I have on the for interview Randall Kenneth Jones. He's a dynamic author, speaker, podcaster, and creative whose vibrant journey lives life in a way that makes Forrest Gump look like a recluse. He's a storyteller, speaker, author, podcaster, communications consultant. He's done a lot. He's also somebody who's reinvented himself, and I'm very passionate about reinvention, that ideas. We'll talk about his journey. I'm envious and in awe because he has a journey that's full of lots of creativity. For me, I've had to figure that out over the years, from being an engineer to tapping into that. So we'll talk about all of it. While the available sources do not provide specific data about it, and so he's got great things happening in his world, as a leader, as a speaker, marketing, and much more. So we'll tap into all of that. And Randall, it's great to have you. Randy, it's great to have you here on the podcast today.
Break all the rules for success. Break all the rules for success. Bob Orr from CBS News did that Forrest Gump quote. That's why I laughed. That was such a great quote. And I was like, man, if you think that Forrest Gump, I got it on Forrest Gump, you don't know how much time I spend looking at a computer. That's a whole. Forrest Gump was running around doing stuff. I spend a whole lot of time doing this, but okay. I mean, I'll take it.
So you were in the creative arts for some time, and then you stepped into entrepreneurship and into like helping brands and businesses. And tell us about your journey. I know you've written 2 books over the years too. So I'd love to hear your journey and how you kind of brought it all together, reinventing yourself and beyond.
I'm going to reshape it a little bit because I am an arts kid. I was a theater kid. I sang. I was in band. I was in speech. I was a competitive speaker, but speaking competitively in junior high. And I had a topic one year that was about the rights of seniors, I'm sure I said the elderly or whatever we said at the time. And here I am fighting for the rights of people in mid-Missouri that, it was like nobody cared about. We weren't talking about that in the 70s. And now I'm a senior. Now I am that person, and I'm fighting to a certain extent and I always have been, for the rights of those people, but I am my arts education. And my entire path it's been wavy, but it's all been about the fact that I'm a creative brain. I'm so right brain. My left brain is almost dormant. You and I were talking about that beforehand. Left brain, right brain, your engineering side. The thing that balances out my wild creative side is that I'm a Virgo, and that's annoying. That's the lists. That's the lack of spontaneity. That's the pre-planning. But sometimes I wish I had the technical side, and I don't. But everything I've ever done has been an offshoot of creativity. And that's what the arts give a child.
Yeah.
Whether they become a professional actor, a professional singer, musician, they get expression.
Yes.
They learn to think about what words mean, how to sell words, how to speak words, how to sing words, how to deal with emotion, how to express emotion, how to understand emotion. When you're an actor, a young actor trying to explore a character and their motivations, that teaches you how to explore the character and motivations of people around you.
Yes.
Arts education to me is everything. Educators are everything to me. Boy, soapbox number 1. Well, actually it's number 2. Arts education is number 1. Soapbox number 2 is if you have a teacher or a mentor or a former boss or a human being that has impacted your life in a positive way because of the World Wide Web, they're easy to find, or should be. Find them and tell them.
Yeah.
They probably don't know.
Yeah.
So that was a big all over the place answer to your first question. But no, I am my arts education. And everything really has splintered off of that. The public speaking, the writing, the creative side, the copywriting, the marketing, the public relations side. I've just always sort of gone down the path and let my creativity take me to the next place. And I've trusted in that creativity.
And that's so important. Like I have 2 young kids, and they're exposed to a lot of musical theater, and my wife and I are just committed to that. My daughter does dance too, and she signs in dance. She's natural. She smiles. She's like fully present, and you can kind of feel her connected, like the smile with movement and all of that. these are skills that I didn't have as a kid, and I had to figure these things out later in life, how to be congruent with all of that as a leader podcaster. I know you've done podcasts too for a number of years with On the Nose, KNOWS, nose being on the
On the
nose.com.
KNOWS. Yep. 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years. Wow. It's quite a journey.
8 years.
So how does all that blend? Like, it's to me, it's like so magical. And for entrepreneurs, for our community, creativity is more vital than ever before, right? Especially in this age of AI, where people lose touch with and like really feel into what they're putting out there, right? And we talked before, you and I get podcast requests quite often, where people use these AI communications messages, going back and forth, where it's nonsense, right? And we can see that when something gets lost in the midst of that. How are you dealing in this new era of, AI? And I know the internet's been around for a while. When I was in college, the internet became the thing it is. And now it's like this whole new thing is here. And, you're in this world, right? You've interviewed Broadway shows, actors, performers, leaders.
Yeah.
You're in that space. How is it like affecting all of that?
Oh my goodness. Not that your questions aren't big or anything. You ask a question and it can be a whole show.
It's a pretty wide question I just asked you just now.
AI, I say I have a love-hate relationship with it. I do think it's a wonderful tool. And I am fair when I say that creativity created AI. Very, very brilliant programmers created and programmed AI. I got in an argument recently with an artist, a painter friend of mine. I said, AI does not have a heart, does not have a soul. And he's like, but look what AI creates. I said, oh, I get that. But AI really, truly doesn't have a heart and truly doesn't have a soul and doesn't really have the ability to move. And I've AI's done some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
I one of my clients, I asked AI to do his bio in first person, combining him with Indiana Jones. And oh my God, the bio that AI wrote for this guy, taking this healthcare professional and merging him with Indiana Jones, it was insanely ridiculous. To me, AI is a tool to feed my creativity.
Yes.
It's a tool to make me better.
Yes.
Now, my next book, AI will not play a role in that. I'm 63. I'm too hardcore. No, that needs to come from me. That needs to come from my heart, my soul into that. I'm not going to, will not use that tool then. But I keep telling people, you need to do what AI cannot do.
Yeah.
That's where you need to focus your work. Now, I really was very anti-AI for a while.
Up until recently, I guess, right?
Well, I mean, up until like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, I really was like, no, ChatGPT, no, and then we talked about this before. We both have podcasts. We get pitches all the time. I get pitches as a writer, as an author. I get all these pitches. They're AI generated. It took me about 3.5 days to realize they're all nonsense. None of these people have read my book. None of these people have listened to my podcast. They haven't done it. So my intellect was smart enough to know, see right through you. A real human being is not behind this message.
Yeah. I try and put my voice in the messages too when I send out like audio messages and so forth. I'm a big believer in video and audio, so that get people to know I'm a real person. It's not some sort of technology team. We do use a bunch of automations, like the things we do to scale, but it's just so important. And I feel people have lost the ability to feel, right? And really connect with the words, the thoughts, and something gets lost in the process of that. Like we go numb to life in the world. And we do use a lot of AI. I even teach AI. We have like a challenge we do once a month, but I teach people how to use AI responsibly. And the biggest thing I teach people to use AI is how to go out and juggle, right? Go out there and juggle, engage in critical thinking, go out in nature, like do all the things so it's not controlling you. You maintain your sovereign self. But that's a whole other conversation, right? I really want to tap into your brilliance, your genius, the things you're up to. I can easily go down that path.
Well, you had me with juggle. You got me. I was like, ooh, yeah. So yeah, we may have to circle back to that when you had me with juggle. Yeah. No, I'm connection is everything. My podcast really is. Well, there's two aspects of On the Nose. To be successful podcasting, we're told we need to follow a niche. I followed a niche up until I was probably 29, 30 years old. If it didn't happen on a stage, I didn't care about it. I had a job, didn't have a career. I had a job, but everything was theater, 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 theater. That really wasn't a healthy way to live. It's not a healthy way to live inside one silo of any aspect of life, in my opinion. My husband and I celebrate our 30th anniversary on June 1st of this year. When I met him, he just opened me up to a lot of things I had never been interested in before. And I became a much more diverse thinker. My interests grew, and I became more interesting, and I became more interested in things around me. So to me, that was my problem with my podcast. If I find it interesting, I wanted to have you on. So I don't want to say all over the place, but I had a lot of different types of people on, especially if somebody pitched me and their topic scared me. As soon as the topic scared me, I was like, I have to say yes. If you're legit and this topic scares me, I have to say yes. I also try to look for the best in people. There's so much negativity. Negativity, unfortunately, sells. Positivity doesn't.
Polarizing audiences sells, and getting people to feel.
That's a niche. A niche sells. More broad thinking does not sell as well. But I was like, I cannot change who I am to suit anybody else's idea of success. Does this show make me happy? Susan Bennett, the original voice of Siri, is my announcer. The queen of AI, the OG. She's my announcer. But does this show make me happy? Does it represent Susan and I as individuals, the types of people that we want to celebrate? And I really got to rethinking that the show's really become about the arts, which no big surprise, I'm an arts kid. Humanities, and I love the world that humanities opens up. Human behavior, literature. Nothing I love more than reading somebody's book, any type of book, and talking to an author. That's so great. But creativity, there's creativity in everything. There's creativity in everything. Everybody has the ability to be creative, and connection. And I think it's so cool. We don't know that much about each other. You wrote me and I wrote back, and you said you want to do the show, and I said yes, and 2 days later we're doing this. So, but we made a connection that I thought, let's explore this now. So am I all about preparing? Yeah. And did I listen to some shows of yours? Yeah. But I didn't shy away from the opportunity to connect with somebody who politely and thoughtfully approached me, which you did, and whose work I said, I like the way this guy thinks. I want to know him better.
Part of my reason for interviewing you is selfish. I interviewed my friend Jennifer last week, and she's a voice coach, and I'm very fascinated by that world. And I think it's so important for people to tap into it as often as possible, and understand how creative people think. The way we raise our kids is part of that. The reason why I studied 5 years of improv was to get out of very technical thinking to being more in the moment. It's probably saved my relationship and my marriage over the years, being able to be in the moment.
I'm going to cut in. Improv is yes and.
Yeah, agreeing. Yes,
if you don't know what that means, when somebody presents an idea to you in an improv, you always agree to it. Oh, you must be that Martian who lives next door. You would say yes. You just agree. When you say no, you stop creativity. When you say yes, you accept the creative impulse given to you, and by saying and, you add to it. So any improv artist is going to teach you to be more creative, because if you say yes and, Colin Mockery, I've interviewed him from Whose Line. He lives yes and in his life.
It's a great place to live. It really is.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, I did a musical theater improv immersive at Magnet Theater in New York City. This is like a week before COVID became a real thing here in New York. And what we didn't realize, but my wife was home. The kids were home. Or like they're young kids. My daughter especially was in Montessori school, and tapping into music and song and being able to create in the moment was very useful. The first year, bringing entertainment in a very challenging world, like as the news and the things were shown us in New York City, and it's more into that. But um, I think improv is one of the most brilliant things. I think everyone should get involved with improv. I led it enrichment. So my daughter went to new school, public school, and I took on being the chair for enrichment. And I was a bit disappointed when they declined my idea of bringing improv into the school. They were kind of stuck with the things we were doing in the past, and people just don't realize how vital it is. And yes, and connection, eye contact, adding more, like really raising the bar. There's, of course, there's a bit of a status exchange. Those little things are happen there, but it's really about moving the conversation forward. And it's so important to move the conversation forward in anything we do and everything we do.
I mean, as a keynote, I use improv. I will, well, definitely as a presenter, it's my, I'm a little bit stand up as well. And the way I do that. But at the same time, I have improv exercises that if it fits the group and if it fits their goals, I'll actually include improv as part of that presentation. And I've had some hysterically wonderful results with that. Wonderful results with actually engaging people, having them in my audience. I will say that when someone is in my audience and I'm doing a keynote, people typically don't leave because chances are real good I'm going to say something.
A little spontaneity.
If you're trying to leave in the middle of my show, there's a good chance you're going to be in the show, and people kind of quickly go, oh. So not in a mean way, not in a mean way.
A good comedian does that too. He acknowledges what's happening in the room. That's a good comedian.
Yeah. Living in the moment, being present.
Let's talk about that. Like when I researched your background, what I read is that you, I think at the age of 50, you realized that you couldn't listen.
I talk too much.
And you shifted that. You basically shifted that, and you started doing this podcast, right? The past 8 years. What did you learn on that journey? And I believe your book is about that. Your first book that you wrote is about that topic. What did you learn on that journey?
I talk too much. Big shock. You know that right now. Everybody knew that within like the first 3 minutes. When I get that. I'm presentational. I'm a theater kid. I talk too much. I love to tell my stories. My husband, God bless him, has heard them all a million times and nods and smiles every time. He still does. But I just thought, you know what? I need to shut up. I'm 50 years old. I've got to shut up. And the best way to do that, to force myself to listen, I had moved to Naples, Florida. I went to the paper and I said, there's all these successful people here. You and I are the same about lifelong learning. Teach me. I want to experience new people and new things and learn new things. So that was the fuel behind that. But the other goal was, there's all these successful people. Has anybody talked to them? And they said, no, do you want to do it? I said, yeah. And I don't want your money. I want to write a book. To do that, to behave in a way that is consistent with being a journalist. And I'm a journalist. I'm a little emotional to be a true journalist. I let my emotions in a lot. That's who I am. You have to listen or you can't do the job. It forced me to listen. So that led to my first book. And I really didn't know. Okay, I've got copies. I led to my first book, which is called Show Me, which is named for my home state where I live now, but we're moving back to Naples, Florida. So by the time this is live. Yeah, so we're moving back to Naples. My first book was Show Me, and it was a series of interviews on what I learned from all these incredible, talented people that lived there full-time, part-time, or passed through. And it was just acknowledging, I still talk too much. I'm doing it now. I'm doing it now.
Well, I think we all talk a bit, and I think people want. I mean, Oprah says, I see you, I hear you. What you say matters." That's how she got masterful at the art of interviewing people, engaging people, right? And I watched one of her shows a few days ago about past lives. It's fascinating.
Well, she's not in a niche. Oprah's never been in a niche. She has things she loves. She loves books. I love books. I mean, do I think it's interesting? Stedman did my show, Stedman Graham. Loved him. Amazing man. His book that we covered was amazing. And people like, well, haven't you talked to Stedman about having Oprah on the show? I said, no, I would never do that. That's disrespectful to Stedman.
Yeah.
Stedman is a brilliant man in his own right. I still talk to groups and to people about what he taught me. And I'm not going to leapfrog. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Now, if she showed up in Columbia, Missouri, where I live now as a speaker, I might call him up and say, hey, can you hook me up? Because I think she's everything. I think Oprah is amazing.
Yes. Yes.
But more so, I wanted to make sure that Stedman received the respect that came with his knowledge, his ability, because he respects her so much. Wow. He does. And that my Stedman relationship is more important to me than having a relationship with Oprah.
So how did your theater days get directing musicals shape that creative aspect of yourself? We talk about improv, but I'm curious about how your theater days shaped who you are now.
Well, storytelling. I mean, when it comes right down to it, I'm a storyteller. I've told some now. I tell them on stage, really, as a keynote. I'm really a series of anecdotal, funny. Some are sad, some are tough. Things that have taught me things that I really want to share. As a theater director, I'm telling a story. I'm painting a picture with all these different components, and it's total immersion. It's like when I'm writing a book. And Sue Monk Kidd said to me, writing a book is like being alone with yourself in the very best way possible, which I thought was kind of amazing. When I direct theater, it's to me like painting, because I'm moving images, and it's like how are they juxtaposed? But it's so dynamic because there's levels and there's layers and there's volume and there's character. How does it look? What does it mean? What are they saying? What are they telling? How do they say it? It's to me one of the most fascinating things you can ever do. Is to be able to craft a group of people together on stage, and I listen to them. That's my thing. I will absolutely always. I'm not ever the smartest person in the room. It's never happened once. It's never going to happen. I'm the smartest person in the room because I know everybody's smarter than me. Everybody has an idea. I'm going to shut up and listen and let people contribute. I had a meeting with a client today, and somebody who'd been in many, many, many meetings. We were talking about different ways to promote something. She'd been quiet, and she spoke up confidently and said, this is my idea. It's the best idea I'd heard in those meetings in a year.
Wow.
The best idea I'd heard in a year. I literally, on the Zoom call, applauded the Zoom call. I was like, this is so cool, because she had the best idea. I don't need to be the smartest. I don't need to be the most creative. I need to do the job right. I need to tell the story. I need to collaborate.
Yeah.
I need to listen. I need people to understand. And I will say this, I'll say it to the camera. Every single person is creative. And if you're in a situation where you're afraid to contribute, I'm sorry, because that's on the people who have created that environment for you. You deserve to be in an environment where you can be heard.
Yeah.
Because you just never know where the great idea is going to come from. You don't.
So how do you get people to collaborate? How do you get people to share their voice more often, let's say, when it comes to...
I think I'm a whole lot of fun. I would like to say, I mean, I think you kind of know. I applaud Zoom calls. I mean, that's a pretty good positive feedback that I like what she said. I say it. I make it crystal clear to people that I work with. I want to hear what you think. I want you, if you're an actor on stage, well, what do you think they mean? Where do you think you should go? The collaboration, it is the connection. It's putting brains together. And AI arguably does that as well. AI puts brains together. I get that. But it's the active human aspect of putting brains together. And it's just fun.
Yeah.
And it's rewarding, and it's real, and it's spontaneous.
Would you say you get buy into more people intentionally put themselves into the project itself when they have a voice and they're adding something to what's going to happen next campaign or whatnot?
Yeah.
So what else have you learned from doing these podcasts over the years, from On the Nose, from interviewing all these greats and other Broadway actors, directors, producers, creative people? I think Bob Berg was also in a podcast too at some point. What else?
Bob Berg. Oh, have you met him?
I've known Bob for 20 years, and we had him on our podcast
Oh,
about 3-4 years ago.
he's amazing. He's amazing. I have everybody asked me about this. The people that I'm probably most associated with is, yes, Erin Brockovich has done my show several times.
Mm,
Yes, she is a very dear friend of mine. Yes, she's a huge influencer in my life.
mm,
What's interesting to me is every conversation we have on the phone, and they can be 3 hours.
mm,
We're old school. We were raised in the 70s and 80s when we
mm,
used a phone. We could
mm,
stay on the phone for 3 hours. Every single conversation I have with that woman could be a podcast. Everyone.
mm.
Every
Wow.
single one could be a podcast because she explores and lives so actively in her life and in life and is such a thinker.
Yeah.
And it is fascinating. I've said the story a million times. I wanted to meet Pat Benatar in 1982. I was doing singing telegrams
Yeah.
for a job. I sent her one. It worked. I went backstage. I bounced around on my knee. I was Prince Charming. I took 6 dozen balloons. 33 years later, we reconnected. She
Yeah.
just did my show.
I
She
saw that.
just
Yeah.
did On the Nose.
Mm, mm.
And you've watched that show, and she is so much more than music. That's
She
what's
is.
fascinating to me.
Yes,
Talk to
yeah.
somebody about their belief system outside of what their core competency is. What else do they contribute? Just her views on life
Mm,
and aging and
mm,
learning.
mm, mm,
Crazy. One of my favorite stories, Carmine from Laverne and Shirley, Eddie
mm.
Mecca.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace. What a
Mm,
wonderful man. Gary Marshall, once again. And Cindy Williams, actually, she passed away.
mm,
Cindy Williams did my show, but Gary Marshall did not do the show. But Eddie Mecca told the story. He
mm,
gets cast on Laverne and Shirley in the 70s. And okay,
mm,
for those of you who don't know, go on YouTube, get some Laverne and Shirley, Eddie Mecca. And Gary Marshall sets him down and said, I want to know everything you can do.
mm.
And he literally gets his resume, everything he can do, what he's played, what his talents are, what his skills are, so that he could be able to have the option to include that
Mm.
in this Carmine, the Big Red to Goo character. How else do you think Carmine tap danced, sang,
Yeah. Yeah.
and boxed?
Yeah.
Eddie was cast to be a boxer
Yeah.
who became a singing, tap dancing boxer because Gary Marshall had the sense to say, I want to know everything you can do. Apply that anywhere. Hello.
Absolutely. I've heard that too.
Apply,
But
and
yeah.
you people don't do that with me. They don't do that with me. They go, oh, we need you to write for us. We need you to edit for us. We need you to speak for us.
Mm.
We need. They want to look at this one resume entry, one thing that I do, and say, this is what I need you to do. And I'm saying, I can always do this for you.
Mm.
9 times out of 10, they don't pay attention.
Yeah.
They don't realize what I can bring to the table. I don't want to make this about me. They don't realize what all of you people are selling you short.
Yeah. That's
because they're not taking the time to understand your full capabilities. So you have to get in there and make sure, boy, I'm looking at the camera when I get serious, that the people that you work with know that you're there to collaborate, you're there to participate, and they need to understand the full scope of what you bring to the table.
Yeah. So very important. How do people listen more? How do people learn how to listen? How do entrepreneurs, how do individuals, how do we learn how to listen?
Mm-hmm. How do we learn how to listen? Are you Summers?
Yeah.
Are you asking me that question?
Yeah. I think most people are in their heads. They're overthinking, they're analyzing, they're often worried about where I used to be 25 years ago. I did a leadership seminar and I realized that most of my life was trying to look good, trying to impress. When I got the weight of that, who is this character that Joseph's trying to play? And what's the cost of living that character, being that character, trying to impress people all the time? I realized how much life is being wasted, right? And what I get from you is you're able to bring people on board. You mentioned one of my fans, Pat Benatar, Mrs. Gerardo.
Mrs. Geraldo. Yep, that's what I call her, Mrs. Geraldo.
and you're able to
Oh, she's the best. I think that's actually nobody's asked me that. Uh, to listen, you have to remove the fear of what you're going to hear.
Mm,
I've
mm,
never answered that, and I kind of
mm,
really like that answer.
mm, mm,
I'm not afraid to look
mm,
at myself in the mirror.
mm,
I find it fascinating. I'm
mm,
trying to be the best person I can be. I'm trying. I don't
mm,
always hit it,
mm,
but I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying, but I'm not afraid what I'm going to hear. When people say something to you,
mm.
it is fascinating to say why.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
especially, and I will not do politics beyond this. When there's a political disagreement, I will say I will not turn my back on a dear friend because of their political views. I will not do it
Yeah. Mm,
because I believe people really are entitled to them.
absolutely. Mm,
I don't have to agree with them, but if you take the time to thoughtfully ask someone why they have done something, why they believe something, first answer is going to be surface. It's not going to mean anything. And
mm,
I hear that. But why is that the case for you?
mm, mm.
As long as you can annoy that person
Yeah.
and keep asking
Yeah.
why, you're going to ultimately, you may still not agree with them,
Mm,
but you're going to go, oh, that's where that came from.
yeah.
That's where that belief system came
Yeah.
from. That is the pain they're trying to cover.
Could be trauma when they're growing up, maybe something that happened to them. It could be an incident of sorts. And in that moment, we have compassion, perhaps, or we understand we're
What?
stepping into their shoes, perhaps, right?
Do you want me to tell you something else I've never said?
Go ahead.
I was afraid I have imposter syndrome. I've never said this before.
Mm,
So when you had to listen, what if I didn't understand what you meant? Oh my God, the horror of that. I live my life thinking, am I smart enough
mm.
to be in the room? This Rebecca Newberger Goldstein, one of my favorite books,
Yeah.
The Mattering
Excellent.
Instinct. Both of us are all about
Mm,
our human need to matter.
mm,
She's a Harvard professor. I
mm.
have her on the show, and I told her the truth. I said, I was afraid to have you on the show because I thought, am I smart enough to talk to you?
Wow.
I told her the truth. She's a Harvard professor. I
Yep.
ain't. Am I smart enough to talk to you? Yeah, I was.
Exactly.
Because what I didn't understand, I asked her
Mm,
and I prepared. I'm going to say something else. And I'm not saying this because I'm bragging. I'm
mm,
told a lot by people. And thank you that I have the best interview. This is the best interview I've ever had. And I love that. And
mm.
I appreciate that so much. And I do. All I do is read the book.
You put the work into
I
it.
actually read the
Yeah.
book.
Wow.
I take lots of notes.
Mm,
I want to read the book. I want to talk to them.
mm.
I study what they have to say. I think of its applications. I do this thing called prepare. I don't know if, I do that old
Yeah.
fashioned thing you call prepare.
Yeah.
I prepare.
Mm,
So what I'm doing really isn't rocket science.
yeah.
So my fear of imposter syndrome came through preparation. I don't know everything she knows, but she doesn't know stuff I know.
Mm.
I absolutely adore her. She's one of my favorite new people in my life.
I'm looking forward to learning about that and perhaps interviewing her too. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And keep in mind the other thing, I'm talking too much, but you know what? You really got me fired up.
Well, I'm interviewing you, so you should be talking more than I am.
I'm fired up. So I'm so profoundly lucky to have discovered my curiosity,
Hmm.
to have exploited my creativity,
Hmm.
to have been able to live a life that allowed me to do that for 30 years with the same man who's allowed me to do that. My
Hmm.
children who have tolerated
Hmm.
a Virgo for a father. I mean, I'm profoundly lucky to
Hmm.
be able to do it every time. And you know this feeling that we get to do this and we're
Hmm.
done having this meaningful discussion.
Hmm.
And that feeling you get because, wow, that was so cool. I get to do that. But the other thing is, I don't know who we're impacting right now. I don't know. That's all I really want. I would like to think, I've always said, if one of my shows, if something I wrote, if something I said impacts one person today, one, in a positive or meaningful way, I had a really great day.
Love it. Yeah.
I had a really great day. So, and you've asked me stuff that I've been asked a lot. And you got me on some stuff that I've not been asked. So thank you. Thank you for that. That's cool.
Let's try this question. So you're at 63 now.
I'm 63.
So a decade ahead of me at this point.
And you look like you're 33, which is unfair, but I'll just go ahead and throw that in there. So okay. Yeah, that's just not fair. Yeah.
I thank 20 years of managing inflammation for myself. A whole other conversation. I had a heart condition years ago, and I found out that if I didn't manage it, then I would need a transplant like my mom did. And I've learned over the years how to manage stress in ways that people can't imagine. So I've dealt with that. I don't have that condition anymore, but it was a gift, right? And I believe that all these things, what we're given to ourselves each day is a gift, whatever circumstances. And if we embrace the gifts that we have, extraordinary things can happen. That's what I believe. You're focused now on giving joy away, right? Like, what does that look like into the next 10, 20 years? What is, and you're doing it right now with your podcast and these interviews and supporting organizations and companies. And
I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm not stopping doing this. I carved myself out. I almost say the retirement business. My dad called me when he was 66, 32 years ago, and said, son, this retirement thing ain't going to work for you. Don't think it's going to, because it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's not going to work for you. So I applaud, and I'm happy for all these people on Facebook who are retiring. I love it for them. I love it for you. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. I think that's great that you got to retire, but I'm sad because if you're celebrating your retirement, how did you spend your career?
Yeah.
I cannot celebrate the end of the opportunities I have to create or to learn or to meet people. Ending this would be a tragedy for me. And so there's no reason to end it. I've got Ruby is my second book that came out that is inspired by, it's fiction. And Ruby is based on characteristic. Mark Victor Hansen, Chicken Soup for the Soul, discovered the book, published the book. The people, the storyline is inspired, and the opening talks about from so many different people I've read. Cynthia Rhodes, who was in Dirty Dancing, little movie some people have seen. Blonde dancer, gets pregnant. She causes the problem that creates the film. I told Cynthia when I met her, I'm the only journalist she's talked to in like 35 years. I love her. She's so wonderful. She's a perfect human being. And I said to Cynthia, I said, oh, I can't write fiction. I can't write fiction. I can't write fiction. I do nonfiction. I can't write fiction. And I'm like, well, hey, why would you ever tell yourself no? And she just took out her little Cynthia Rhodes fairy dust and said, oh, no, I think you're wrong, Randy. I think you're talented and do whatever you want to do. A week later, I had the outline for this book about a woman named Cynthia.
Wow. Love that.
Inspired by Cynthia Rhodes from Dirty Dancing.
Of course.
And I've got 2 more books planned for Ruby. Cynthia is in one of the books. She may be in another book. Ruby is the key character. I never thought I would write a fiction book.
So
I told myself no.
Yeah.
And now I want to. I've got 2 more planned.
I love that. Our tagline for our podcast, for my business, is dare to play bigger, bolder, and better. And the idea is to get better. You get better each day by being a little bolder each day, by doing things that are uncomfortable each day. And you basically tapped into all of that in the last 3-4 questions I asked you. Getting uncomfortable. At my office, I have a quote on the wall, not here, but in my office, which is about half a mile away. It's by the improv professional Day Close, I believe his name is. When it took us from a studio in New York City, Follow the Fear. And you are somebody who's willing to do that on a regular basis. That's very inspiring, awe-inspiring when I hear that.
A brand new book. Oh my goodness, do I have it anywhere? Rob Shooter has a brand new book called It Started with a Whisper. I'm recording.
I love that you get the interview, engages people, and actually have conversations and go deep and deep. There it is.
It started with The Whisperer. Rob Shuter, he's a gossip columnist.
Hmm.
But he's a gossip columnist with a heart. And then again, isn't everything gossip now? Okay, that's preview of that show. There was something that was discussed in this book. There was a plot point that hit me. So you can get a lesson everywhere. It was one of the characters was told, stop running away from something, run to something. And I went, I read it and I read it again. I mean, outside of the context of this plot line, I was like, wow. I will say I haven't run away from things. I have removed myself from situations that were not positive and that were not helpful. Sometimes I haven't, sometimes I have, but I think largely when I've left something behind, I've had a somewhat valid reason for doing that. But how often have I run to something? Maybe never. Did I have a specific, I'm following the path. I'm happy. I'm doing things happen for me. I meet people, but am I seeing the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Am I running to something? So I can't wait. Rob doesn't know this because I haven't recorded the show. I can't wait to tell him that line has shaped the way I'm prioritizing and setting goals now.
I hear that. Even before we started this call, we talked about even your kids. They're in the 30s now. They're growing up. They're adults, right? They're at that stage of life, and how you're challenging them, inspiring them to take on different roles in your business or the things you're up to, so they think they can potentially develop a skill, right? That could value that they can grow on as they move forward in their lives. So I hear you're also encouraging that next generation to do that as well. For me, my why is that my kids are significantly younger and start a little later in life. It's generational impact, and I hear you're actively looking to impact people positively and generations that come to.
I'm just happy that I discovered the joy of that even later. Arguably, I think I probably lived a fairly selfish life, even though I've been a good provider. I was a very black and white dad. This is all right. This is not. That was more fear-based than anything. My kids, I've done some crazy stuff on stage. I can't embarrass them. It can't be done. They take me with a grain of salt, but they listen to me. They're the coolest two people in the world. They're wildly different. My daughter has finally admitted she's like me. She's a Virgo, and I always say to her, I said, honey, don't let the Virgo win. Don't let the Virgo win. Fight the Virgo. Fight the Virgo. Don't let the Virgo win. The Virgo will kill you. The Virgo is can be a very challenging way of being precise and living so structured with no spontaneity. And they both are different sides of my personality. And I think it's cool that now the kids will let you know. As difficult as the terrible twos are, the terrible 22s weren't great. I'm telling you, I mean, I was like 18 to 26 was like, because they cut you off. They do not want to know what you have to say. And my friend Amelia Antonetti had said something. She's a human behaviorist and she's so worth following. She's amazing. She said something that at a point in time, you have to stop parenting your children and learn to mentor them.
What stage?
She said that a little late for me. I wish I'd heard that a good 5, 6, 7 years before I met her.
So would that be like 20s, 18, 20, where you start mentoring them?
I think it hits about at the 18th birthday. If you think past 18, you're parenting, you're not. They're not going to let you. They're just not going to let you. And my house, my rules, my money. Yeah, that didn't work. That didn't work.
Yeah, didn't work for me.
Didn't work. Yeah. But I do think that I shifted more mentoring naturally, but that was the single best advice. And I was so lucky. I got to tell Dr. Phil this, not directly, but Dr. Phil and Robin said many years ago, we're raising adults, not children. And through my friend Peggy Post at the Emily Post Institute, my very dear friend, I got a chance to write to Dr. Phil about another project and got to tell him that. And I love that. I love acknowledging people who teach you something and get to tell him that I parented. Really, that was my core parental belief. I told my kids that and they were like, that makes sense. You know what? I see that. I get that. Okay. I get that. That makes sense. They got it. They understood what I was doing.
So what I interpret that to mean is that even for my kids, right, age almost 8 and almost 11, by acknowledging the adults that they're going to be, right, as they get older and wiser, however young they are now, there's an opportunity to kind of parent them, like basically treat them responsibly in a way where as they get older, as they become adults, then they get to model our behavior. Like it's more about show me. There's a quote up: "Show me what you It's like show me what you say." Right, something about sort basically.
Some of that. I mean, you would think I'm in the Show Me state. My book's called Show Me. I would know what that is. I that your takeaway from that is great. But then I'm going to come back at you with another thing, and I've said this before: never lose the child inside. Never lose the spark, never lose the creativity, never lose the imagination.
Yeah.
But as part of being this adult focused parent, I lost some sense of play. I was so worried about making a mistake. I was so worried about their health. I was so worried about their safety that I probably didn't play. We had a good time. I'm not saying we didn't have fun. I'm not trying to be mean to myself, but in hindsight, I would have tried to have had more fun too. Now, all I know how to do is work. Has anybody figured that out? Yeah, that's true. That's true. Work is my thing. That's my thing. That's my thing. We don't bar hop. We never have. We do dinner parties and stuff, but I'm still more interested in a meaningful conversation than anything else. But not losing the curiosity and the childlike curiosity, but not losing the sense of play. I could have worked on that. I could have been better at that.
In retrospect, right? And you're still working on that now and embracing more about
it. And I'm going to actually have them watch this. And I don't normally tell them to watch shows, but I'm actually, so thank you. Thank you to you, because I felt you've given me an opportunity to say things I've not said. Thank you. And I'm not at all scared to let my own children. I'm not afraid to let them see me fail and to let me see me be human. I'm not.
I think it's important. It really is. And I'm definitely focused on generational impact. There are people I've interviewed who've passed on. Some of my closest friends who I've interviewed a couple of years ago passed on, and at a young age, in their 50s. And what I'm grateful is like these episodes they live beyond them. So as you know, there are kids who are adults now, or they're 18. One of my good friends, 18, a couple of years ago, when he passed away, get to watch that episode and tap into the wisdom of their dad, even giving them advice as they've entering their 20s now. And for me, that's priceless. Like being able to have this video or what you're saying impact them. And like I see that happen.
My kids have this. I told them, I said, the most important things that I want to leave you are these 2 books, because they're what I believe in different formats, nonfiction and fiction, and this series of recordings. I mean, I've got lots of pictures and stuff. I've got 3 plastic tubs full of pictures. That I'm so angry at them. I hate the fact that they exist. But what am I supposed to do? But no, that's what you want to leave. And I am, I'm seriously, the Benatar episode was pretty epic.
It was awesome.
And her view on aging and her view on legacy and her view on thought and thinking and having enough time. And her fearless way she discussed all of this. It was pretty epic, and it's really on my mind right now.
She was a pioneer. She really was a pioneer, and she is a pioneer, right? She is a pioneer. And,
well, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. And she is as cool as you want her to be.
I mentioned it before. The first tape I bought, and we had albums growing up, but the first tape I had to buy for a time capsule project when I was in 1983 with my friend Michael Ahn, talking about World War II and all these sequence events that happened in a specific year. We had that tape and we basically played songs of that tape while we were there, engaging the audience, the classroom. But it was that album.
Which one?
The one that hit me with the best shot. So Love is a Battlefield. So
Crimes of Passion.
Yeah.
Well,
What's
Love is a
what-
Battlefield was a different one. Live from
Hmm.
Earth, was that Love is a Battlefield? Hit Me with Your Best Shot was Crimes of Passion.
They were both. Did she have a best songs collection? Perhaps.
Oh, well,
I
she's
think-
had 473 of those. Yes.
Okay.
No, there's a whole lot of compilations. There's a whole,
Okay.
and now there's a ton of playlists. So,
Yeah.
Best Shot was Crimes of Passion was 80. Live from Earth, which I think had Love's a Battlefield was 81, 82.
Yeah.
And
It was-
I'm that big of a fan and that big of a nerd that I actually know those dates.
it was that album was very impactful.
Yeah.
And I love it. When I hear that song on the radio, it's awe-inspiring, right? And it's ahead of its time. And it's so great that you got to interview her in a recent podcast. It's really great.
Oh, she's done the show twice. She's my heart. She's yeah. And then we both love books, and we're talking about what books we love and why we love books and the importance of words. And I mean, I can talk to her about music, but that's not usually what we talk about. Just in real life, that's not usually what we talk about. We talk about kids. We talk about parents. We talk about this.
Yeah, love it.
What you and I are talking about. So,
well, Randall, this has been extraordinary. Really appreciate this interview. For our audience, tap into Randall's wisdom. We'll have a link to Randy's podcast, which is called
On the Nose. KNOWS. OnTheNose.com. RandallKennethJones.com is everythom
Amazing. We'll put
the
that
book
link.
stuff and everything.
I'll also put the link to the recent, your second Pat Giraldo Benatar interview in there too as well. So I appreciate
and
this.
thank you for doing this. And I will say to your listeners, please continue to support this incredible man. And what people like us are trying to do is just touch lives and make lives better. And it is harder for us to do it because we're not pissing people off. Because we're not, and we're actually, and that's not as appealing, and it's a shame. But I thank you for what you're doing. I thank you for reaching out to me. I thank you for this connection. And to those of you watching or listening right now, please continue to support our podcast host and by sharing his stuff, talking about him, letting other people know about this work, because what you're doing is very, very important.
Thank you, Randy. And that's at rulesforsuccess.com. Tap into this, the summary, some short clips from this episode, and a mind map. It's one thing we do uniquely with our episodes. We do a mind map, kind of summarizing all the things that were covered to make things kind of visually fun and engaging. I appreciate the conversation. Rulesforsuccess.com.